When the door closes behind our parents, the world seems to shift. In that silence, something strange begins to happen. At first, it's just a feeling, an unsettling sense that we're no longer being watched, no longer bound by the rules that govern our every move. But what happens when the safety net of parental supervision is removed, and we're left to navigate the chaos on our own? What are the hidden dynamics that come to life in the absence of those who have always kept us in check? The absence of parents can feel liberating at first. For many of us, it's the moment we've been waiting for. Freedom. No one to tell us what to do, where to be, or how to act. But as the minutes stretch on, the atmosphere begins to change. A sense of unease creeps in, and you realize the rules you thought you were free from are replaced with something much more unpredictable. Suddenly, you're facing not just the world, but the people closest to you, the ones you've always known. That's when the dynamics start to shift. Take Emily and Jack, two close friends who have known each other since childhood. They've spent countless hours together, sharing secrets, dreams, and everything in between. But when Emily's parents leave town for the weekend, everything changes. The casual hangouts they used to have turn into something more complex, more charged. At first, it seems innocent enough. A late-night movie, a few snacks, and the familiar comfort of each other's company. But slowly, the atmosphere becomes different. What started as a simple hangout turns into a subtle battle for dominance, trust, and even control. The playful teasing becomes more intense, the glances more meaningful, and the lines between friends begin to blur. But what happens when those lines get crossed? Emily feels it first. She can't quite explain it, but something is different. There's a weight in the air, an unspoken tension that seems to pulse between them. Jack, usually the laid-back, carefree guy, is acting strange. It's as though the absence of parents has unlocked something neither of them anticipated, something that feels both thrilling and terrifying at the same time. The more they interact, the more Emily wonders, is this just a phase? Or is something deeper at play here? As the night stretches on, neither of them can shake the feeling that they've stepped into unfamiliar territory. The stakes are higher than they realize, and the quiet, unnoticed tension is building towards something neither of them fully understands. Will they be able to navigate the new dynamics that have emerged between them? Or will the absence of their parents reveal truth they weren't ready to face? Stay tuned, because what happens next will shock you. You won't believe the decisions they make when they're left alone, with no one around to stop them. And what they discover about each other could change their friendship forever. Don't miss what happens when the door closes and everything we thought we knew is about to be challenged. Emily had always seen Jack as her safe place. He was the kind of guy who never took things too seriously, who could make her laugh even when the world felt heavy. They grew up on the same street, went to the same school, even shared lunchboxes as kids. Over the years, their bond had become something others envied. Close, comfortable, unshakable. But now, with her parents gone and the house so quiet, that same comfort started to feel unfamiliar. Too close, too intense. It wasn't like Jack was doing anything wrong. He still cracked the same jokes, still helped her carry the snacks to the living room, still asked about her day like he always did. But it was in the silences between their conversations, in the way his eyes lingered a second too long, in the shift of his tone when he said her name. Emily couldn't explain it, not to herself, and definitely not to him. But something was different, and it wasn't just him. She could feel something inside herself changing too. Maybe it was the loneliness of the house, or maybe it was the weight of unspoken thoughts that had built up over the years. But now, without her parents' presence, The walls seemed to echo with questions she had never dared to ask. Had Jack always looked at her that way? Was she imagining it? Or had there always been something more hidden beneath the surface of their friendship? Earlier that day, when her parents were packing up for their trip, everything felt normal. Her mom had reminded her a dozen times to lock the doors, not to leave the stove unattended, and to keep the volume down if she had friends over. They trusted her. She was responsible. But now, with them gone, and the night stretching ahead of her, she realized something they hadn't prepared her for: how to handle the unexpected emotions that come with too much space, too much quiet, and one familiar person who suddenly feels like a stranger. The house was dimly lit, shadows moving softly across the walls. Jack leaned back on the couch, scrolling through movies, asking if she wanted to watch something funny or something dark. His voice was casual, but his eyes flicked toward her every few seconds, as if waiting for a sign. Emily tried to focus, to act normal, but inside, her thoughts spun faster than she could keep up with. Was she just overthinking? Or was there something between them that had always been waiting for a moment like this? Just as she was about to say something, anything, to break the tension, her phone buzzed. A text from her neighbor. "Hey, I thought I saw someone in your backyard just now. Everything okay?" Her heart skipped. She turned to Jack, trying to keep her face calm. "Did you hear anything outside?" He shook his head slowly. "Number Y?" She showed him the message, and in an instant, everything changed. The atmosphere went from tense to electric. They both stood up, eyes locked, listening. That silence, the kind that makes you hold your breath, wrapped around them like a blanket. Outside, the wind moved through the trees. But was it just the wind? Emily's hands trembled slightly, and Jack noticed. He gently took her phone, his face suddenly serious. "Let's check the cameras," he said. The screen lit up, showing the grainy view from the backyard. And then, something moved. Or someone. Emily's stomach dropped. Jack leaned in closer, squinting. "That's not the wind," he whispered. What started as a strange tension between two close friends had now turned into something far more mysterious. Was someone watching them? Or had the absence of their parents created more than just emotional confusion? The answers were coming, but not the ones they expected. Emily's pulse quickened as she stared at the screen. The camera feed was grainy, and the night vision only made it harder to make sense of what they were seeing. A faint figure, maybe just a shadow, moved near the edge of the yard, right by the fence. Jack squinted, his jaw tightening. "Could be someone passing by," he said, though he didn't sound convinced. Emily shook her head slowly. "Nobody walks back there. It's fenced off." Suddenly, their earlier tension took a back seat. The strange energy between them, whatever it was, shifted into something more urgent. Fear. Both of them moved cautiously toward the sliding door, careful not to make noise. Jack peeked through the curtain while Emily kept her eyes on the phone, refreshing the camera feed again and again. But the figure was gone. Still, something felt off. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a random passerby. It didn't feel like coincidence. Someone had been watching the house, maybe even watching them. She tried to think back. Had she posted something online? Mentioned that her parents were out of town? Her stomach sank. A few hours ago, she'd posted a story showing the empty living room and snacks on the table. No faces, but still. Maybe that was enough. Meanwhile, Jack was pacing now, nervous energy rising in his movements. "Look," he said, "I'll stay here tonight, just in case." Emily hesitated. The idea brought a strange mix of relief and discomfort. She trusted Jack. But after everything that had happened tonight, the tension, the uncertainty, the glances, it wasn't so simple anymore. As the night dragged on, They tried to distract themselves, played a game, watched a movie. But the mood was off. Every creak of the floor, every whisper of wind outside made them freeze. And it wasn't just fear of someone in the yard anymore. It was the fear of what had already started between them. The silence that once felt familiar now carried weight. What they didn't know, what neither of them could have guessed, was that someone had been watching longer than just tonight. And this visit? It wasn't the first. There were things going on that neither of them were prepared for. Things that ran deeper than a childhood friendship and darker than just a stranger outside the fence. Something was unraveling, and the night wasn't over yet. The minutes felt like hours. Every corner of the house seemed to hold its breath. Jack double-checked the locks, while Emily stood near the window, staring into the dark backyard. The figure hadn't returned, but that didn't bring comfort. The unknown was somehow worse. Her phone buzzed again. Another message, this time from a different number. Still up? No name. No profile picture. Just those two words. Emily's hands trembled as she showed Jack the screen. "Is someone messing with me?" she whispered. Jack looked at the message, his face pale. "That's not normal," he said. "Block it." But Emily hesitated. Something in her gut told her this wasn't just a prank. She wanted answers, but fear was closing in from every side. That eerie sense of being watched hadn't gone away. In fact, it was getting worse. Jack tried to stay calm, but Emily could tell he was rattled. He kept glancing toward the hallway, as if expecting someone, or something, to step out of the shadows. "We should call someone," she said, her voice barely steady, "like the cops." But Jack hesitated. What if it's nothing? They'll think we're just paranoid. A sudden thump from upstairs cut through the silence. They both froze. It wasn't loud, but it was real. Not imagined, not wind. It came from her parents' room. Emily's heart dropped. "No one should be up there," she whispered. Jack looked toward the staircase, then back at her. "Stay here," he said quickly, grabbing the nearest thing he could use as a weapon, a metal flashlight. "No," she said, grabbing his arm. "I'm not staying down here alone." Their eyes locked, fear pushing everything else aside. Step by step, they climbed the stairs, each creak of the wood beneath their feet sounding like thunder in the quiet house. The hallway stretched ahead of them like something out of a dream, familiar but somehow threatening. Emily's hands were clammy, her heartbeat in her throat. Jack held the flashlight tight, the beam flicking from wall to wall. When they reached the bedroom door, it was slightly open, just a crack. The air felt colder up here. Still, heavy. Jack nodded at her, then pushed the door open slowly. The flashlight beam scanned across the room, bed neatly made, nothing out of place, until it landed on something that hadn't been there before. Emily's old photo frame, face down on the floor, glass shattered. Something or someone had been in there, and they might not be gone. Emily stared at the broken frame on the floor. It was a photo from when she was 6. Her mom, and her dad at the beach, smiling in the sunlight. She hadn't seen it in years. It used to sit on her parents' dresser, buried behind stacks of bills and jewelry boxes. Now it lay face down, shattered, like someone had picked it up and then deliberately dropped it. Jack knelt beside it, inspecting the sharp glass. "This didn't fall on its own," he said. "No way. It's too far from the edge." His voice was low, almost shaking. Emily's mouth felt dry. She nodded slowly, her mind racing through impossible questions. Who would come into her house just to leave something like this behind? Why that photo? Then her phone buzzed again. Another message. But this time, it wasn't just a vague text. It was a picture. A photo of Emily, taken earlier that night, sitting on the couch, laughing, with Jack. She backed away, nearly dropping the phone. Jack. Someone was inside, while we were downstairs, watching us. He looked at the screen, his expression darkening. We need to leave. Now. But before they could move, they heard a soft click. The sound of the front door closing, not opening, closing. They weren't alone. Panic surged through them. Jack pulled Emily by the hand, guiding her quietly toward the guest room. There was a closet in there, and maybe a way to climb out the window if they needed it. But just as they reached the hallway, they both stopped. At the far end, near the staircase, was a flicker of movement, a shadow. Not speaking, not moving closer, just watching. Jack held the flashlight out, ready to swing, but the figure turned and disappeared down the stairs. No sound. No rush. Almost as if it wanted them to follow. Emily's thoughts were spiraling. Could this have anything to do with her parents? Had they been keeping secrets? Was this someone they knew? The way the intruder moved, calm, familiar, didn't feel like a random break-in. It felt personal, targeted. And then, as she turned back toward the guest room, she noticed something on the floor just outside the door. A note. Folded neatly, written in her father's handwriting. 3 words. Don't trust him. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked at Jack, who was staring back at her, confused. But something had changed. Everything she thought she knew was no longer certain. Emily held the note in her hand, like it might burn her fingers. Her father's handwriting was clear, careful. She'd seen it on birthday cards, on notes stuck to the fridge. But this one said something she couldn't make sense of. Don't trust him. Her mind raced. Her father couldn't mean Jack. Could he? Jack stepped forward, his brows furrowed. What is it? What does it say? She hesitated. Then slowly she turned the note toward him. His face didn't change. No shock, no confusion. Just stillness. Is this some kind of joke? She asked, her voice trembling. Jack didn't answer right away. He looked away just for a second, but it was enough. That second told her everything. Emily, he finally said carefully, you know I'd never hurt you. But something in his tone was different now. Not threatening, but calculated, measured. I didn't want you to find that. Not yet. She stepped back. Her pulse pounded in her ears. What's going on, Jack? He sighed, lowering the flashlight. I didn't come here tonight just to hang out. I knew your parents were leaving. I knew you'd be alone. And I knew you'd trust me. Everything around her blurred. Why? Because your dad isn't who you think he is, Jack said quietly. I found something, years ago, files, hidden in his study, about people, locations, surveillance notes, and my name was on one of them. Emily shook her head. That doesn't make sense. It didn't to me either, until I realized he was watching me, watching us, for years. That photo he kept, that wasn't just a memory. It was a marker, a target. His voice cracked just slightly. I tried to confront him last summer. That's why he suddenly stopped talking to me. That's why they tried to keep us apart. Emily felt like the floor beneath her had vanished. But the messages, the figure in the backyard. Jack looked her in the eye. That wasn't me. I thought it was him. I thought he sent someone to scare me off again. He paused. But if he left you that note, then maybe he was trying to protect you from someone else. At that moment, a loud bang echoed from downstairs. They both jumped. Then Emily's phone buzzed again. One final message. A photo, grainy black and white, showing her dad, standing in the backyard, tonight. She and Jack stared at each other, realization dawning. He never left town, she whispered. Jack nodded slowly. He's been here all along. Emily's hands shook as she locked eyes with Jack. The truth had shattered everything she thought she knew. Her dad hadn't gone on a business trip. He'd been here the whole time, watching, hiding, maybe even protecting. But from who and why? They rushed downstairs, adrenaline still surging. The house was silent again, but the front door was wide open. Outside, the yard was empty. No sign of her father, no footprints, no shadow. Just the echo of that one photo. Her dad in the backyard, burned into her mind. Jack stepped onto the porch, scanning the darkness. "He's not here," he muttered. Emily followed, heart pounding. "What if he's been watching from somewhere nearby?" she whispered. "What if he's trying to tell us something before someone else does?" Back inside, Emily searched her dad's study, dusty drawers, locked cabinets. And then, at the bottom of a filing box, she found it, a second envelope with her name. Inside was a short letter. It explained just enough. Her dad had once worked for a private security agency, monitoring potential threats. Years ago, Jack's family had unknowingly been part of a surveillance case. But something changed. He saw that Jack was innocent, just a kid, and too close to Emily. So he buried it, left the job, tried to leave it all behind. But someone else hadn't. A shadow from that past was back, and they'd used Jack and Emily's bond to draw her dad out. Tears filled her eyes as she finished reading. The final line hit hardest. "If you're reading this, I've already made my move. Stay with Jack. Trust him. He's stronger than he knows." Jack read it too, in stunned silence. For a long moment, they just sat there in the quiet house. The danger finally passed, the truth now open like a wound. Her dad had been the one leaving the messages, watching from the shadows, not to scare them, but to protect them. And tonight had been his final act to keep her safe. The fear slowly gave way to something else. Understanding, closure. The next morning, police confirmed what her dad had already known. A break-in attempt, tracks near the fence, traces of movement through the woods. Whoever had come wasn't after random stuff. They were after him. And now, he was gone. Off the grid again. But this time, with purpose. As Emily stood on the porch with Jack beside her, she knew life wouldn't be the same. But somehow, the bond they'd rediscovered in the absence of parents, through fear, doubt, and truth, had made them stronger. And that she'd never forget.